Howdy, y'all. Caleb here. This past weekend, Axton, my son, and I went to a doubles tournament, playing 1,000 points each. Had a ton of fun at this tournament. So I'm just going to quickly recap what happened there, because I took 12 Aggradons, and it was a ton of fun. I love the Aggradon units. I finally got 12 of them painted up, and so had to put them into my 1,000 point list. Here, you can see a picture of them here out on the table. We'll go through kind of what we did here in this tournament. So here's our list that we were taking. 100% we're just going to have fun. These were not competitive 1,000 point lists. Please don't take these as your competitive 1,000 point lists if that's what you're doing. This is definitely just for fun. My list, you can see here, is in Kotal's Claw, Coalesce. So we get, the extra bonuses to charge and -1 damage. Makes them a little bit tougher against some armies. So my leader is the Scar Veteran on Aggradon. Not generally your choice you're going to take, but since I am taking 12 Aggradons, I wanted to field this hero at least one time. So I took him in this list, and he did fine. Really, this is probably where your Astrolith bearer, your Source Astrolith, is going to be your general instead of this Aggradon. But with 12 Aggradon Lancers, maybe he comes up being worth it. In the end, not really. Command trait Vengeful Defender to get a move in the hero phase for all my Aggradons and himself. And then I took a Nullstone Adornment, the Nullstone icon, so I could get some unbinds. Again, this just kind of leaned into we're not taking any wizards. Really, the smarter play would be Arcane Tome, so you can cast like Mystic Shield on Aggradons, and then you could use Primal Dice in both phases. But since we're trying to go no wizards for our grand strategy, it made it just a little bit easier. So 2 big blocks of Aggradons, 6 each, and these guys are fun. 12 Aggradons in a list just feels good, because you can get these with Vengeful Defender all the way across the board, turn 1 if you need to. They are a threat to be reckoned with. They will kill a lot of stuff, and they can be difficult to remove. So 12 Aggradons feels real good. Because I had 80 points left over, I took the Hunters of Huanche with Starstone Bolas. All that fit into a battle regiment. The Bolas actually didn't really do anything for me this game. A lot of times I end up using them for a battle tactic, for the skink battle tactic, score an objective, but I don't think I even did that this tournament. It's just the opportunity never came up. We had fewer objectives on a lot of these maps, and so I felt like 80 points wasted in this tournament, but in a 2,000 point list, a lot of times they make my list just because they provide some flexibility. But anyway, on the dot at 1,000 points, 73 wounds, 1 drop. My buddy Axton, he's my son, was taking Stormcast Eternals, and he also took a pretty fun list. He took Karazai the Scar, the big giant dragon, and he took that because we really haven't ever played it at a tournament. We kind of wanted to see how it did, and just filled in the rest with a bunch of Redeemers. He took this in Stormkeep. So our strategy was, I'm going to always be charging. He'll try to grab the objectives and then counter charge with Karazai to kill whatever's left over. So, summary, Aggradons did great. Scar Veteran didn't really do much. Hunters didn't really do much. Karazai killed some stuff. He was pretty good. Karazai, I don't know why I can't get that name right. Liberators and Vindictors, even though they're Redeemers and they would count on 3 on objectives depending on what round we're in, I don't know that they ever killed anything. They died pretty quick. So Redeemers have a lot to they could be a lot better. They did not do very well. But we're taking fun lists, so that's what we're going for. Our first game here, we're going up against Khorne and Slaves to Darkness. And so you can see here we've got Splinter Fang. He's got a bunch of those Splinter Fang, 2 big units of those. And those things are just so incredibly annoying. So points efficient, do a ton of damage. And even if you kill them, they'll come back and they'll still kill you then. So a tough unit to deal with. Some Chaos Warriors, I think, or Chaos Knights. We got some Blood Warriors in the Khorne list. I think I kind of underestimated how tough they were if you don't or if you fight into them first, or whatever the rule is. They get like a 5-up ward save if activating properly. So that made it to where my Aggradons didn't quite do as much damage into them as I was hoping. And then he's got, what's his name? The big Bloodthirster, Scarbrand. Couldn't think of the name. So in this one, we outdropped. Everybody in this whole tournament was 1 drop each, and so we won priority. So made them go first. They move on to objectives. They take out some liberators down here, which just instantly come back from call for aid. On our turn, I charge into one group of Splinterfang and then into the Blood Warriors, and I was able to take out the Splinterfang. Of course, they come back at half strength, so that kind of feels bad when that happens. The other warriors, I wasn't able to kill many, but he didn't kill many Aggradons, and so basically they were stuck there in a fight for quite some time, which is fine for Aggradons. The Blood Warriors weren't doing much damage back, but most things in this army were like 1 damage that I was worried about, and so that was going straight through my scaly skin. Our Karazai was able to take out Scarbrand in one of our other turns, but in the end, we just really lost the attrition fight. The Splinterfang just keep coming back, and then the Redeemers just couldn't kill anything. So once my Aggradons got worn down, what he had left was able to mop up the Redeemers, and then it was just Karazai left on the board trying to fight off the hordes. And so we ended up losing this first game, but a lot of fun. Good melee. They just out-meleeed us. I don't think there was any shooting in this army. No melee or no magic. Just a straight-up fight in the middle of the board. It was a lot of fun. Oh, there's some pictures. There's the second time I killed that Splinterfang unit. Scarbrand coming in to try to get a piece of those Aggradons. Game 2, playing against Chuck and Jody, which are probably the 2 most fun people you can play against in Age of Sigmar. Just have an absolute blast every time I get to play either one of them. They got a really fun list. A Sylvaneth unit with list with 3 Tree Lords and a Battle Mage. And so doing some teleporting shenanigans, but really just throwing the big trees around, having fun that way, which is pretty useful because they can give that stomp, which makes you fight last. And I think his Tree Lord Ancient was ethereal, so they're really hard to kill. We had to go first on this one and finally got to use Vengeful Defender to its full ability, and I was able to charge this unit of Aggradons into his Stalkers and killed off most of them. Actually, no, that wasn't the Stalkers. That was the Immortus Guard. Killed all but 2 Immortus Guard. But you know what happens when you don't kill off an entire unit in OBR? That's right. By the end of the game, it was back to full strength. It may have been a turn or 2 later. It was back to full strength. My other Aggradons, I wheeled around this terrain piece and hit the Death Riders and just wiped them off the board. So, had OBR pinned back really far, and that was where all their bodies were, and the Immortus Guard were basically in a fight with the Aggradons for a couple turns, and that kept OBR pinned back there. He had a Tree Lord here that came to the middle, and Karazai took out that Tree Lord, and then we held the board with the Redeemers. He did teleport 2 Tree Lords up to the right-hand side to deal with the Aggradons that were left up there, and they eventually, I think, wore through those Aggradons. I was able to rally a couple of them, but at that point, that's basically all they had left. They had the Immortus Guard that had gotten caught in the middle by screens, and then 2 Tree Lords up on the top right. And we were up so high on points at that point that we, by the end of the game, we had them on points. So we got the win on this one. I think that was mostly due to those Aggradons just charging and pinning in. That's kind of what I wanted to do with them. Maybe on that last game, we should have taken turn 1 and tried to pin them back deep and score the board for a couple turns, make them climb out of it. But that was the strategy we wanted to go with, and it worked in this one. So a great game, a lot of fun with Jody and Chuck. Oh, Karazai did end up getting killed by Immortus Guard. Those Immortus Guard that they just kept resurrecting all the way back, and they eventually took down Karazai. So he was stuck in combat with them for a while, but just couldn't do enough damage. Great game. Oh, there's some charges going on. Game 3, we're going up against Steven, who's a really great player. He's really good. He's playing Tzeentch, and we've got Khorne over on the other side. So we got a lot of Oh, it's not Tzeentch. It's Slaneesh. I'm sorry. It's Slaneesh. The Slaneesh, like Hell Riders, but he's also got some Bliss Barbs and stuff like that. We made them go first, and this big old block of stuff they've got up here in the top middle, they basically didn't even move. They kept it there. They pushed forward on the right-hand side, where we had kind of blocked off with the Realm Shaper engine so they couldn't flank us. And so we're going to push up onto that side as well. The Bliss Barbs didn't really do much in this turn, and then in our turn I was able to get Aggradons into their big block of Bliss Barbs and take one of those units out. My other Aggradons, I didn't really want to engage this big giant block, this little castle here that had the Bloodthirster in it, but at this was game 3, we're just having fun. I'm like, let's just charge everything. So he charged in Karazai to the right, I charged in all the Aggradons. We're just looking to have some fun. And, I was able to pin back this big unit, but they were able to wear down those Aggradons. They have so many debuffs in that army. They had like a bunch of minuses to hit, minuses to save that they could pile on to the Aggradons that really just made the Aggradons ineffective in melee, and then we're able to wipe them off the board pretty quick. They charged in the Bloodthirster to try to kill something. Karazai came back and cleaned him up, but just the way the board played out, we weren't able to keep our aggression going turn after turn. And so they were able to take off the Aggradons by probably the end of turn 2, and then the Redeemers just couldn't hold the objectives. Karazai was still going around doing some fun stuff, but again, it just wasn't going to be quite enough. So once the in this team list, once the Aggradons were gone, we didn't have enough really board presence to keep putting melee pressure onto things, because the Redeemers aren't going to do any melee, so it was really up to Karazai to clean up whatever was left. So if Aggradons didn't clean up the big threats, then we were kind of be in trouble. All right, so that's it for that tournament. Had a lot of fun. Got to play a lot of Aggradons, and that was really what I just wanted to do. I wanted to race Aggradons across the board, and this was a fun way to do that. So I'm looking forward to putting all 12 Aggradons in my 2,000 point list coming up, and maybe we'll go into what an Aggradon list looks like. I may have to make that as my next video. All right, guys, we'll see y'all next time.